Treasurer, you talked, as you often do, about the 25 years of economic growth, something that Treasurers are proud of, but it recently has been accompanied by what is now a reasonably long run of low wages growth below inflation. Is that a concern for you in policy terms, because the pickup in household consumption you want may be funded by increases in personal debt or lowering household savings, and a political concern because people are feeling a bit more stressed and a bit more grumpy, and that doesn't tend to go well for governments?
This is my number one concern, has been the low, modest growth in wages. And it's not unique to Australia. It's occurring in every major advanced economy in the world. It's not peculiar to us. It's a post-GFC funk on wages growth that has afflicted all of these economies. And there's only one way out of that, and it's growth. You don't get a wage increase in a business that's going backwards. You don't get a job in a business that's shut. And the only way to boost incomes in this country, to boost wages in this country, is to ensure that our economy is growing and the businesses that drive that economy are expanding, that they're taking on the new opportunities, that they are transitioning, that they are understanding the opportunities that are out there for them, and they can connect with them. I see this in businesses in my own electorate in southern Sydney. They are transforming themselves because they know they have to. Otherwise, they won't be in business. And technology has a huge role to play in that, and that featured heavily in our NISA strategy, which we outlined at the end of 2015. And we'll have more to say about the second phase of that later in the year. I suspect Arthur had a bit to say about when he was meeting with you yesterday. So that's the way you boost wages. I mean, the Labor Party has not put forward any plan to grow the economy or boost wages. They have no plan to reduce taxes for companies. They have no plan to match our infrastructure goals. They didn't do anything on defence procurement for 6 years. They opposed us on the China Free Trade Agreement and spoke against more generally those types of initiatives. They mocked our innovation strategy. But what was the alternative? There is no alternative. Just having a personal income tax rate, top level of 49.5%, and a company tax rate which will basically send jobs offshore.
We've got time for a couple of questions from the audience, if anyone has one. Yes, one in the middle.
David Havier, Energy Consumers Australia, but once again, not related to my employment. The question I've got relates to the question of whether, in fact, growth leads to the ability to increase wages and reduce inequality, or the more common view amongst leading economists these days that, in fact, it is inequality which is the growing inequality which has become the anchor on growth. Then, in fact, you're putting the wrong thing in the lead, that you've in fact got to work hard on reducing inequality, and that is what will provide growth, because you can't get growth if people don't have money to spend.
A couple of points. In this budget, there were four key messages. One was we needed to grow the economy to support more and better paid jobs. Secondly, we needed to guarantee essential services. Third, to put downward pressure on the cost of living. And fourthly, to ensure the government lived within its means. The two middle messages there, I think, go to your question. When wages particularly have been modest in their growth, Australians have a heightened sensitivity to the services, the essential services they rely on. Medicare, the NDIS, if they're so affected by that, schools, hospitals, all of these sorts of things. And that's why in this budget we have sent such a strong message and given such an unequivocal guarantee around those services, and that we have reversed measures that previously had raised concerns with Australians about those essential services. And this is important. And similarly, we've said the same things about what we've done with our housing package and what we've been doing to address issues around electricity prices. And this is why we introduced things on childcare affordability and the Jobs for Families packages. The services and the putting downward pressure recognise the real sensitivity and difficulty that Australian households, families have been facing because of lower wages growth. And this is important for the economy. It's not only just the right thing to do, but if Australians are worried about their services, then they will be more reticent in the economy. And they need to know that the government has their back on these services, and this government does have their back on these services, and that's why we've given such strong guarantees. So that was the architecture, if you like, of trying to reassure Australians about these two key issues, of which we do know they're very concerned about. Another part of this was about the regional disparity in growth. It is true that the Australian economy has grown for 25 years consecutively and 26 coming up this year. But not all parts of the country have experienced that, and many Australians will tell you they haven't felt it at all. In parts of the country they have. You go to a place like Tamworth or Toowoomba or places like that, they are really benefiting from the pick-up in agricultural prices, and you can see that flowing through into the main street and so on. In other parts of the country, places like Whyalla or Townsville or so on, they're not having that experience. And so things like the Building Better Regions funds, the focus on regional infrastructure, the cities deals in Townsville, all of this is designed to try and address those disparities in the way that growth is falling on the economy. But ultimately, you can't pay for Medicare, you can't pay for the PBS, you can't pay for pensions, you can't pay for $18.6 billion extra in school funding, you can't pay for the $10 billion investment in health in this budget if the economy's not growing. What has been the single... Labor spent at 4% growth a year over those 6 years, but their revenue was at 0.9%. They spent more than 4 times faster than their revenue. And we have the diabolical fiscal mess to now clean up as a result of that policy. If you don't grow your economy, your revenue will not grow. For those who think we're revenue challenged, well, the best way to grow your revenue is to grow your economy.
And there's one more question.
Hutch Hutchinson from Jacobs. Treasurer, congratulations on the government's infrastructure spend. That's fantastic, and a lot of firms such as ours are very excited about helping with that going forward. But I just wonder about the discrepancy between New South Wales and Victoria. Melbourne is projected to grow from 4.5 million people to 7 million by 2050, and how do we retain the most livable city tag and that sort of thing when New South Wales is getting the lion's share of all of the infrastructure spend?
Well, New South Wales has put forward projects that we can fund, and we're inviting those projects to be put forward by the Victorian government. I met with Treasurer Palace yesterday. We've got the $10 billion rail infrastructure fund, and there are a range of projects now where I think we're getting closer with the Victorian government. Let's not forget, we were going to build the East-West Link with $1.5 billion, and they ended up spending over $1 billion of their own taxpayers' money not building the East-West Link. We need to make sure that when we do these projects, they are actually delivered. We spoke yesterday. I don't think Tim would mind me saying, we were talking about the Melbourne Airport link. That's an important project, and we want to be sure that we're both on the same page about that project. We don't want a repeat of going in different directions. And so where we can cooperate on projects and we can see those projects and they're proven up, we offered to be involved in Melbourne Metro and they said they didn't want us there. So we've just got to work a bit harder between us. I'm genuinely not seeking to be critical. I want to work with the Victorian government to work up and prove up these projects and for us to be investing there. We've done that successfully in New South Wales. And we've done it very successfully in Western Australia since the election. We were doing it before the election, I should stress, but a new Labor government in Western Australia, and we've been working very proactively with them, and we're able to reach agreement on the reassignment of the Freightlink project there and Row 8 to the other projects which we've identified. There are some proven cases that have to still be made on a few of those. But we've demonstrated our ability to be a practical government and just work together and get things done. So if politics can be put aside, then we make a lot of progress.
And on that note, we've run out of time. Can you please thank the Treasurer for taking time for us today?
Thanks.
Thank you very much.